All right, off and running then. That's the first. On to race number 2 and the second. Class 4, 1,000 metres. We're down the straight here. Triumphant Jewel back into Class 4 company. Complacency, though, change of headgear. Blinkers off, visor goes on. Black Tech on debut. Charity Grand on debut. Highland Dancer on debut. Lightning Treasure gets the blinkers on for the first time. We get a debut from Precious Sweetie, sparing no effort as well. Lunar Zephyr, runner-up last time out. Down to Glittering Armour. They're playing around the headgear as well. Cheek pieces off, hood goes on.
Well, Lunar Zephyr had a very lightweight something on his back last time out. He doesn't quite have that this time round with Brett Preble aboard, but he's still by far the most likely leader here. So one or two of these first starters have shown good speed in their trials, but they'll be doing well to match Lunar Zephyr early.
Tend to agree. Have a look at the trial or the work here from Keep Going. Working alongside of Empire Star, who'll race later in the day. He's the one on the rail. He's travelling very strongly in that piece of work. He didn't do a great deal on debut at 1,200, but he's back to 1,000. Might be a little bit of an improver. We'll have to wait and see. I'm expecting this horse to improve. Lightning Treasure, he did a lot wrong on debut. He's very green. He's working here with Speedy King, who's already won 2 races this season, and he's got blinkers on in this work. He'll have them on race day. Drawn nearer the outside rail, if he can step, I think it's a real positive. The blinkers going on and sparing no effort of the newcomers. This is the 3-year-old by Smart Missile. He's had an issue with his radius, so he's had some time off, but he's a nice enough looker, and I think Jenny will give him a reasonable rap from the paddock.
He's had a couple of trials so far. We'll come back and have a look at one of those. Let's start off with Lunar Zephyr, though. Couldn't quite get over the line. This is back on the 12th with Victor Wong's £10 claim. Brett Preble takes over. Yeah, he's a bit of a 1,000-metre specialist, this fella, and he's entitled to run well on this occasion, given the claim that you mentioned. But I think, given his back catalogue of runs at this sort of trip down the straight 1,000 as well, despite the fact he's got more weight on his back, he won't be taking on as much for the lead, I don't think, here this time round. So I think he'll go well again. Yeah,
I'm a bit the same. He's got the £10 to carry this time extra because there's no claim with Preble riding, but he should be up there and fighting for the win, I would have thought. All
right, OK, that's Lunar Zephyr. Complacency. Scored on debut over the 1,000 metres. They got up to 1,200 metres last time out behind Gracious Rider.
Yeah, look, he's a horse that's got some ability and talent. There's no doubt about that, but he's a little bit quirky at this stage, very inexperienced, still raw and green. Got to take him with a pinch of salt. Interesting that blinkers off and the visor on, so just a sort of taking a step back with that sort of piece of gear. You can see here he looks average, but if you look at his win first up, he looked quite good.
He did, yeah. Moreira's jumped back on. Obviously, that little change of headgear might just help him, and I'll put him in the numbers because I think he's worth another try down the straight 1,000.
Yeah. All right, that's Complacency. He's drawn barrier 3, though. Might not be ideal, although the rail is out in the A position. Goko, we're going back to February for this one, because this was a decent effort from Goko again over the 1,000.
Yep, this is his best effort from 5 starts, when second behind Refined Treasure. That does read pretty well. They only ran 57.03 here, so the time wasn't overly quick. Refined Treasure's run a 55.5 since in winning. But Goko has done his best work this course and distance so far.
Yeah, and I think it was a decent effort. So, again, he has to be considered in a race which there are one or two ifs and buts about the form of the others. I think that's a pretty solid piece.
All right, OK, we've got 5 debutants going round. Here's one of them. Charity Grand, a 3-year-old by Exceed and Excel. He's had a couple of trials.
He has, yeah, an ISG. So Mark Richards will have his beady eye on this throughout the day. He's got good pace, had good pace in his recent trials. Barrier 2 could be a negative. £1,033, not an overly big horse. Zach Purton did ride him in his most recent trial, the one we're looking at here. He's not there on race day. He's riding Goko.
He was around some decent horses here. It wasn't a particularly brilliant try, but it wasn't a bad one either. So I'm quite keen on his chances of the first starters.
All right, Highland Dancer and Ocean Park 3. Already had 6 trials in New Zealand, just a couple here, though.
He's another one that's got a little bit of pace, and he'll be advantaged by barrier number 14. Vincent Ho's been aboard both the trials. Tommy Berry, who rode him in his most recent piece of track work, will take the ride. I haven't put him in the tips, but the barrier, I think, will aid him. Whether or not he might be looking for a fraction further is questionable. I'm going to sit on the fence and watch him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't far away.
All right, and sparing no effort, the last one we see, John, has running 2 trials. They've been pretty hot ones. This is House of Fun winning this trial.
Yep, so no surprise he was quite a long way away. He came pretty wide round the turn as well. He wasn't really asked for much of an effort in the latter stages. I think he probably went a little bit further, just had the 2 Hong Kong trials. But again, he's interesting. Can't put him in the tips, but I think he's interesting.
Yeah, he's a nice enough type of horse, I think. Yeah, I think pace of the race, the distance of the race will probably go against him. As I mentioned, he's had some problems with his right front radius back in December, so he's had a little setback, but I think Jenny, as I said, will probably give him a reasonable rap.
OK, but Luna Zephyr, Brett's our favourite, 250 at the moment.
He is, Andrew. I'm going to suggest one at a little bit of value here, a little shy at the 3 sticks in the ground with Lightning Treasure. This is trained by Ricky Yu. Blinkers on in that bit of work we looked at, working with Speedy King. On debut, he did a lot wrong behind Nice Fandango, awkward out of the gates, all over the place like a drunken sailor. The blinkers on and a barrier near the outside rail may see him improve noticeably. I'm going to take the chance that'll be the case. Triumphant Jewel gets the drop in grade. Old timer, still racing with enthusiasm. Complacency's got ability, we know. Luna Zephyr, 8-1-2-12. QQP, those 4 numbers, and I'd be having a little itchy way on the 8 as well, because I think it's a tricky race.
It is a tricky race, hence why I've decided to sort of stick with the tried and trusted here with Luna Zephyr on top. He's not a great price at the moment. Hopefully he'll drift out to something a bit more backable on the day of the race. Goko in there for second, best run this season, course and distance. Complacency in for third. Triumphant Julia, I thought he'd be a slightly bigger price. He's been a bit inconsistent this season. If you look back through his form, all of his best efforts are towards the end of the campaign. I think he's coming into some form now.
All right, yeah, and I'll go with Luna Zephyr as well, although he is quite a short price favourite.